Ken Trahan of SportsNola.com with Lenny Vangilder. The Saints with a very impressive 30-13 victory over the Chicago Bears. Lenny, a lot to like in this game, but I think more than anything else, the defense obviously playing well, and the physical nature of this beating that the Saints administered to the Bears had to be the most pleasing aspect.
Well, no question about it. This defense, you look back at the last two times that they've been on the field, Seattle in the playoffs and the opening game against the Packers, and that's not a Greg Williams defense. They got it handed to them twice to the tune of 40-plus points, and they clearly wanted to send a message yesterday, and the guy who paid the biggest price for that was Jay Cutler.
He took a beating in this game and really had no chance. And if you look at the Saints' performance in the second half, their defense gave up only 81 total yards. And, of course, the first drive of the Bears encompassed about 46 of those. So the defense was just terrific in the second half.
Yeah, 6 sacks all in the second half, forced a fumble that set up a touchdown, and that arguably was the biggest play of the game at that point. It was a 16-13 game. The Bears had the ball. Turk McBride got the strip sack, forced the fumble. Jonathan Vilma with the recovery. The Saints go in, make it a 2-score game, and Drew Brees gets it back, scores again, and at that point, that is exactly music to Greg Williams' ears. He wants that big lead. It's a lot of what we saw in 2009, the Saints offense getting out in front quickly, and Greg Williams can just tell his guys to pin their ears back. He can have it coming from all different directions. The Saints ended up with 5 sacks in the fourth quarter to put this game away.
Roman Harper, coming off of 2 games that he'd like to forget, had maybe his best game in a long time as he was all over the field in this game, being used properly and really played well, and that was good for him. Offensively, the Saints ran it effectively enough, and, of course, Drew Brees threw the ball very well, took what the Bears gave him throughout, staying underneath, except for the one beautiful pass to Devery Henderson of 79 yards for a score. Brees, outside of Tom Brady, nobody's been better in the NFL early on this season. And then the kicking game. The kickoffs by Thomas Morstead were good. The coverage was good. They did not allow Devin Hester to get loose. Morstead's punting was superb, and John Casey making his field goals.
And a 53-yard field goal. I was wondering if after they attempted or lined up like they would fake a field goal on a 48-yarder and then there was a false start, now you're backed up to 53. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a punting situation now, but you let Casey try it from 53 yards away, and unbeknownst to me, he has been a great long-range kicker in his career. Obviously, the first chance we're seeing him here in New Orleans, he actually broke a tie yesterday with Morton Anderson for second place all-time 50-yard field goals in NFL history, behind only Jason Hanson of the Lions.
1 or 2 other points before we close it out. Calls in the game. There were 3 calls of interest in the game. First, the roughing the passer penalty against Roman Harper. By the letter of the law, it was the right call. It's a bad call, but it's the right call because he hits him cleanly simultaneously as he's releasing the ball, but because he drove him to the ground, they call the penalty, and by the letter of the law, that's correct, although I don't know how in the world you stop in that situation.
Yeah, it's really hard to, but obviously this is a lot of these things they're doing out there are about player safety, and they're trying to protect if you want to say protect the stars of the game, the quarterback, then call it that. But that is what it is, and by the letter of the law, it was a personal foul.
The Meacham call on a hit out of bounds was flagrant, or so it seemed, and I think everybody agreed with that, including Sean Payton. It happened right in front of him.
Well, exactly. He even used a timeout just to try to get his opinion in on that, probably to calm himself and his team down at that point, because there had been 3 calls go against the Saints in a very short period of time at that point. A defensive holding call, the aforementioned Roman Harper call, and then that call that turned into a no call that, all probably within the span of maybe 7 or 8 plays. And I think Payton needed to calm down his troops and himself a little bit.
The Saints got one back on the touchdown by Darren Sproles, who clearly stepped out of bounds at the 1-yard line. That's a replay official's call. He can stop play on a scoring play to review it. He didn't do it in that situation.
Well, one thing I did see this morning from Peter King and his terrific Monday Morning Quarterback on SI.com is he's hearing that there may have been a communication problem from the booth down to the referee. We'll see if we hear any more about that in the coming days.
Well, it's a moot point. The Saints would have won anyway, and they probably would have scored anyway, but you like to see the calls get right. Of course, SportsNola.com is where you want to be all the time for all the best information in the area, in the state, and throughout. That's SportsNola.com. Don't forget, Sports Nola TV each and every Monday night, 6 p.m. on WHNO Television, Channel 20. That's Sports Nola TV, 6 p.m., WHNO Channel 20, each and every Monday night at 6 p.m. Full recaps and some good opinions on the Saints wins, of course, on LSU, Tulane, and Prep Sports as well. For Lenny Vangilder, I'm Ken Trahan for SportsNola.com. Thanks for joining us.